What up, guys? It's Dr. Vic. You're listening to another episode here on the Mindful Experiment. Excited to have you here. Excited to have you on. What an amazing Wednesday it is, where I'm at in the world right now. Hope things are going absolutely amazing for you and so forth. This topic that we're going to discuss today is actually something that really was a game changer for me in life. It really got me on the path to start to see how the constructs of human collectiveness, or I call the matrix, which my new book's coming out end of May right now. We're on pace. We're actually 2 weeks early, actually, the way things are looking, to have the book done, edited, completed, hopefully by the end of April, and then get the marketing campaign out then. It may get pushed to June, but I'm really hoping to get it done by end of May. That's my goal right now. But it really taught me the aspects of the law of least effort, because too many times humans will say, and you hear this in every industry, I've been around this world for 38 times right now. And the one thing that I've learned the most in this process is that we will accept things when it's common for most, right? You see this everywhere. I saw this in health. That was my first start, where I started to see people would say like, well, this is what happens. This is why this is, or, hey, 80 over 120 over 80 is good blood pressure. 80 or 80 heartbeats on is good. Having cholesterol at this is good. And really that's not, or they'll say it's normal, right? That's not normal. That's average. And you have to understand the difference. You may say, well, what do you mean? That's just what everyone has. No. That's the average. That's not normal. My heart rate's under 60. You go to a medical doctor, they're going to say there's something wrong with that. My blood pressure for my body type should be higher than what it is. It's like 105 over 60. And I should be, with the body mass I have and the muscle mass I have, which means I have more arteries and veins, there should be a higher blood pressure to push that through. Why I don't, I have no idea. But that's just trying to share that. Now, that's just in health, right? What about in your career, in your business, in your profession? What's the norm? I know in chiropractic, what was considered a successful chiropractor, this was that. Or if you want to be a pediatric chiropractor, this is what you do. Or if you want to have a family wellness practice, or you want to have a pain clinic, or you want to have XYZ, this is what you do, right? That's what most of us do. And so you're really just following the masses. And this is another reason why I don't like groups, because it's easy to be conditioned and put into in a box. But where about in other careers, in the financial markets, right? You go to a financial advisor. They're all going to pretty much tell you very similar things. But if you go to someone who's a fiduciary advisor, they're all going to tell you something pretty much the same, right? There's these things. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. But what happens is we accept that to be what is. And then we consider it to be normal. And that's where I think the fault is. So what I went through is I had to break through all this. I had to dismantle all this stuff that I was learning and being conditioned and so forth. And I had to break it down and see something new. I had to redefine it on my terms, because what else would I do? I was following everything else and I just never felt fulfilled. There was limits I was hitting and all these other stuff. So this is the most powerful thing that has totally transformed my life. And I want to share this with you guys. And I've talked about it before. In different elements. I'm just bringing a whole different way of sharing it now. As I evolve, my message changes. The truths of what I share don't change, but it's just the way I explain it. I have different ways to share. So when we look at behavior, when we look at conditioning, right, you have to look at yourself and say, well, what's showing up in your life that's been a pattern, something that you do consistently, right? Maybe you don't work out like you do. You get into the program, you want to do it, and then 2 months later, you're not there. Or what about if financially you're not, you want to have all this money, you want to have a successful business, you want to do all these things. And then you look at your patterns and your behaviors and you're not aligning to that. The first impulse buy you do, you see something on Facebook that was an ad and you're like, oh my God, I was thinking about that. That's what I want. Or you don't understand the mental capacity of what financial consciousness or conscious financial mindset is. Because of your upbringing, your beliefs, and all these other things. I'm just sharing what it is, but in relationships, it can be the same thing. Why do the same problems keep coming up over and over? They may change in how you're having an argument, but when you go to the deep root, it's always the same. It's just an extension of the root. And you start to look and you go, well, I tried things, Doc. I've read books on relationships to try to help save my marriage or help save my relationship. I've studied the financial books on how to make more money. And it's like, yeah, all these people are having success, but I'm hitting some roadblocks along the way. I just don't see why. Or maybe moving at a snail's pace. And it's just like, man, why is this taking so long, right? And if you listen to people who are just consulting you, they'll tell you just got to keep doing the system over and over and over again, right? Because what we've accepted in the business world, personal development world, the self-help world, from what I've seen, is that you have to have sweat equity. You have to grind and hustle. You got to sacrifice your time, right? You got to sacrifice things in your life. So you got to give up the things you enjoy so you can create the success for you or yourself and your family, to be that legend, right? This is all, excuse my French, but this is all bullshit. The reason why it's accepted is because many people have taken the path to success and they had to work 80, 90, 100 hours. They had to struggle and figure things out. They had to do all this stuff and eventually they got there, right? It's like the book from Napoleon Hill, 3 feet from gold, right? And everyone uses that analogy, like you never know when you're 3 feet away from the goal of what you did. So just keep grinding, keep hustling, keep doing the work, and eventually you'll get there, right? And I'm not saying that's not good, bad advice. It's good advice. It works. It's solid. Hard work pays off in the long run. You choose the hard life, you're going to have an easy life in the end. If you choose the easy life, you'll have a hard life. I mean, these are all truths. There's nothing wrong with that advice. Is it smart advice to be working smarter than harder? Are we really working smarter? How can we? Right? There's a law called the law to least effort. And when I learned about this law, that you can the least amount of work to get the greatest gain, which means that no matter what happens in your life, there's a minimum amount of work that you can do to get the greatest gain possible. And after that, the work can continue to go up, but you're not going to get more, right? How can you find that out in your life, right? How can you look and find these things? And so I started experimenting over years of understanding this process and trying to figure out how can I drastically change that? How can I change my life to work smarter, not harder? And I did it with my personal life. I've done it in every element of it. I've done it in my business life. And I'm always still trying to craft it. You know, I'll be honest with you guys. I have a goal in the next 3 years to have a 6-hour work week. Make the money I want to make. Okay. The profits I want to take in working 6 hours a week. Now you may say, you're crazy. Well, there's some things I know, and that is you determine your life and what you believe and what can happen for you. And once you understand that, you can make it happen. So now I'm getting to that point of the belief side, right? What's that belief of when it comes to your behaviors? Because if you're hitting roadblocks, you're hitting patterns that aren't getting to where you want to get to, most of the time that's a belief. There is something holding you back. You have a belief on limiting. You have a belief that it may be not good. You may have a belief like money is a great one because everyone has limited beliefs. There's like, you can Google, I think there's like 10. I put it in a book, 10 negative limiting beliefs that you have when it comes to money and why people struggle with money. There are things that can come in relationships. What's your beliefs on relationships, right? Oh, all men are bad. Well, great. You can never find a good one then. Or all women are horrible. Well, you're never going to find a good one then. You know, it's that belief that you have, but then you got to find out where it came from, right? And that's the other part of this. Because what I've learned over time, if you change a belief, you change behavior. Beliefs determine behavior. Right? You can do this. This is where I said, well, it's just, you know, we're all grind equity, sweat equity, and all that. And I said, oh, that's a bunch of BS because here's why. When you have to, what you're trying to do then with that type of work is you're trying to change your behaviors. You're trying to go from outside in to try to make a change. Okay. So you're going to do more, right? You're going to keep expressing more energy out to try to get to a result of what you want to get to. And the sad truth is not that you can't do it. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. Because eventually the law of repetition, the law of consistency will come into play, and you're going to eventually change your neurology around, and you're going to start to neurologically program it into the brain. But what happens, it just makes it harder. What you're doing is, and here's an example, is it easier for you to ride against a wave or to try to swim with it? Which one's easier? At the end of the day, you're going to get to the same place. I'm not saying you're not. It's just the timing of when you get there is going to be vastly different. What you lost in the process to get there, known as sacrifice, is going to pull you away. So you're going to lose maybe your health. You're going to lose maybe your relationships, maybe lose a marriage, lose the depth of the relationships with your kids. Maybe you're going to lose your, mentally mindset. You're just irritated all the time. You don't have a clear mindset and you're just not yourself. There's so many things that can show up because you're sacrificing to put all your energy in the one thing and not try to put it in others. Okay. And this is where that constant thing that we're told that, sweat equity and hard work and all this stuff. So at the end of the day, both paths will get you to where you want to get to. One is going to get you there less stressed. It's going to be easier. It most likely all the time, almost all the time, happens faster. Okay. We have the other path, which you can continue doing what everyone tells you to do, right? Sweat equity, you got to work harder, you got to do the grind and the hustle, you got to sacrifice, you got to do it. I still hear this today from people who are making 10 plus million a year. They'll say the same things. And I'm always just like, man, I get it. I get it. Trust me, I do. I work very, very diligent. I'm very disciplined in what I do every single day. But at the same token, it's like, where can we figure out how to find that law of least effort, right? What's that magic spot? And so what ends up happening is we make all these decisions, right? Because you think about it, how many people in the world, like Dalai Lama once said, someone asked him, what's the most amazing thing you ever experienced in this life? And he said, his answer response was man. And the reporter was blown away. He's like, wait. Of all the things in the world, man, please explain. He goes, and I'm going to paraphrase this and so forth, but he says that, man spends all his time and energy to accumulate wealth while forgetting his health. And then once he accumulates all his wealth, then since he didn't take time to take care of his health, now he has to take all his wealth to try to take care of his health. At the end of his life, he didn't have both. He ends up with nothing. And so that stuck very strong to me when I was studying Buddhism and other things in that nature in my early mid-20s, because I was like, I'm not going to sacrifice my health. This is a belief, right? Can I still be successful and not sacrifice my health? Absolutely. I've created a different belief for myself. So now my behaviors and actions is I have a certain amount of time I do work, there's a certain amount of time I take my health, I meditate, I do all these different things, and I take care of me every single time. I take care of my relationships every single time, because I created a new belief that stated that I want to have a work-life harmony, not a work-life balance, a work-life in harmony. And that means I'm always working on all these elements. They're never really perfect because they're always adapting. And this is something that I learned early on with the human body. When you want to get the body to be perfectly balanced, right? It's a self-healing, self-regulating machine. And as long as you have the nervous system communicating properly, that's why chiropractors are so fascinating in what they do, then all of a sudden that communication process will help enhance these self-healing and self-regulating mechanisms. So that's the power of chiropractic in a nutshell, right? But I was like, yeah, we want to balance those things out. But then I started realizing, I started learning something called allostatic load. And what that means is how much can a body take to adapt to the stresses in the environment, and how well can it respond to that? How resilient is it to stress? Then I started learning that you're never really not dealing with stress. It's always there. And so you're never perfectly in balance to sit back and relax. It's more of what's coming in, what stimulus is coming that I got to handle and adapt to. Well, that taught me in my work aspect and my life aspect, that's the same thing. It's not trying to get something to a certain level and I can take my foot off the gas pedal. It's what do I have to do every single day to keep doing that work, right? That's a belief. That's a code that I put into myself to program my mind to do that. And once I start to do that, my actions and behaviors are very religious. And the reason why is I'm not doing it because of scarcity. If I don't do it, oh my God, everything's going to crumble or anything like that. You hear this in like marketing perspective. I do it because of that principle right there. The consistency factor. I'm inspired to do it because I know what it's giving to my life. And I know what I do now in the next 2 to 3 months will dictate and kind of shape the next 2 to 3 years of my life. And so as long as I'm consistent and very strong in my 2 to 3 months and stay consistent and strong every 2 to 3 months, I'm changing my life in the future. May not see it in the beginning, but I'll see it in the future. So this is how you change your behaviors. So if it's struggling with weight loss or you do a program like New Year's resolutions, it's a great one to see everybody who definitely has behavioral things that they need to correct because from beliefs. And so many other things. Like when it comes to money, there's a lot of self-worth issues that show up. I see that a lot with working with clients that'll show up with that. I see a lot of self-sabotage. You're choosing things that you want to success, but you've been so used to self-sabotaging yourself from conditioning it early on. There's a belief there, and that you'll pull that away from you and so much more. There are fears that come in. Those are beliefs that happen from certain things, right? They're not real, but you ever heard of the acronym FEAR, false evidence appearing real? It's those concepts that, it's just things that are not really there, but we have believed them to be there. And so I'm going to leave you guys with this to wrap this up. When you see a pattern, you see something, you really got to be mindful. This is why if you're not going to be mindful, this stuff doesn't work. You have to be mindful to understand and really tap in to see, hey, this belief, when did I decide to let that belief serve me? Okay. Very powerful question. Once you do that, what that ends up doing is it makes you reflect on when did you actually have that moment happen. You'll actually have a moment. You can ask, did it come from mom? Did it come from dad? Did it come from an aunt, uncle? Did it come from friends? Did it come from a teacher? Did it come from grandma and grandpa? I mean, you can ask these questions and just sit there. And you'll get a feeling. You'll know. Now, it's nothing harmful against them. It's just these things happen. And it's just the way the brain is at your age that you were. And so then you just go, okay. Then you can say little person, your inner child, whatever that is. And you can just talk to it and just say, hey, listen, or talk to yourself and just say, that belief served me for so long in my life. But at this point in my life, it has done what it needed to do. Thank you, belief, for doing that for me. Here's my new belief I'm now going to give power to, and state whatever that is. It's that simple. The problem is you think it's not because you've been trained and conditioned that it's going to take forever. But you can make these changes. And once you permanently make it and you start training your nervous system to be conditioned to that, this is how you get results so much faster. This is the law of the least effort. This is how you transform things. This is my bread and butter and what I do in coaching. Because as a mindset coach, a business mindset coach, the business side is I can help with business and help you elevate and grow. And I work with business owners. That's why I have the business side there. The mindset side, though, is really to get into these beliefs, these habits of destruction, to change your neurology of your brain, change your mindset and change your perspective, to help you then look and see something different and build practices. And I have many tools to use to help the individual achieve the dream life that they desire, to really unleash your potential. That's my main mission and what I do to help business owners unleash their potential so you can live the life of your dreams, what you want on your terms, the way you want to. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're sitting there going, man, that sounds freaking awesome. I want that. Hey, check out my show notes. You can go down there and you can go ahead and there's a link for you to click on to put your name and email in, and we can have a conversation on this to see where you're at, what you're up to, what you do for a living, and then how can we help you level up to the dreams of what you desire? And there's no limit on this of what you can achieve. The only limit is yourself. And so I greatly appreciate you guys tuning in this week. If any, like I said, any questions you have, you can always email me, drvic@empoweryourrally.com. I do respond to my emails. If you go on Facebook and Instagram and you want to DM me. I respond and read my DMs. I love hearing from people from the podcast. Just in general. And I do take time out of my day to answer. I spend an hour a day minimum just answering DMs. Those are clients. Those are potential leading clients. Those are people who just want to reach out and have questions or so forth. So don't hesitate to reach out. But as always, I appreciate you guys. I hope you had an amazing and hope you continue having an amazing week. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.